I wonder how many of you are going to unsubscribe after this episode, because you can't handle the truth. You need me on that wall. Hi there. My name is Charles Ray Dawson. I am the Associate Broker and Residential Sales Manager at ProStar Realty. This is the Unnamed Real Estate Podcast, episode 181. I hope you guys are all having a good day. Once again, I'm recording this on Wednesday, not because I have any particular reason not to. Just got everything done early, sitting here at the office, looking at what can I get working on. And, I can do unfun stuff, work on some marketing stuff, question my existence, or I could start turn the camera on and start doing a podcast. So here I be. The other thing is, on Wednesdays, I run a bunch of numbers, and that we then report on Thursday. I think I've told you guys that. And a whole bunch of news things just sort of popped up, and I was, I had ideas, and I wanted to get these ideas vomited out onto your screen so I don't forget them by tomorrow, because unfortunately that's some of the stuff that I do quite often. It's like Monday, Tuesday, I have this great idea. By Thursday, I'm just white noise drawing a blank for ideas. So let's talk. All right. So just as an FYI, I have no idea why, but lately, if I do open houses at this one particular house, something mega happens while I'm sitting, basically on the stairs there, reading my little book, listening to my country western music and whatnot. And let's see, 2 weeks ago was somebody tried to shoot a presidential candidate. This weekend was somebody decided they didn't want to be president anymore. So this is, who knows what's going to happen next weekend. All right. I'm not sure if I'm going to be sitting at Saturday or Sunday, probably Sunday. All right. But just so you guys know, if something big happens in the world, all right, looking at Yellowstone right now, because apparently they had a pretty big little geyser explosion up there on Monday, shoot me a text. Hey, Ray, turn on the news. Apocalypse has happened. Aliens just landed on the mall, whatever. So, all right. So let's get into the numbers, because then they lead into what I want to talk about. All right. And I know you guys love the numbers and you really want me to get them out of the way early for you. So, all right. These were the numbers for July 24th, 2024. All right. All right. Our actives this week are 17,853, up 72 from last week. Our new listings are 1,846, down 68. Our contracts are 1,948, down 91. Closings last week were 1,401. Coming soon to an MLS to you is 541 new listings. Now, Frankfurt side, all right, our supply is at 74.4 and our demand is at 74.6, which gives us an almost perfect balance of 100.3 for the Frankfurt number. So we have 75 buyers out there looking at 75 houses. That's how it's all balanced out. And then breaking it down into our little areas that we like to look at. And what we got going on here, Scottsdale's the news of the day, because they were dropping last week. Right now, this week they've actually ticked up 3%. Now remember, they look at the percentage from this time last month. So whatever happened since then is starting to come off, and now we got them back up to 125.3. All right, seller's market. All right, but the splits are pretty much the same. The only balanced markets we have right now is Paradise Valley, Don't Care, and Peoria at 105. All right, our buyer's market right now are Surprise, Goodyear, Cave Creek, Queen Creek, Maricopa, and Buckeye. Everything else out there is still technically a seller's market, even though it might not feel like it. All right, so what does this mean to you, the consumer? Well, let's take a look, right? Because our next thing that we're going to really look into is what happens, this number right here, our supply. 74.4 means where we should traditionally have 100 houses for sale. We have 74.4 houses. Right? What does that look like in the big scheme of things? Right? That's brought to this chart, which I actually saw when I was running the getting Frankfurt report numbers. This, of course, is from the Frankfurt report. All right. Each one of these lines is active listings based on now they do every data point as a week. All right, so each of the little dot you see on this, now you guys are looking at this on your phone, you're going to have to listen to me. All right, and you guys are watching this on the big screen, you should be able to see some of these. All right, each one of these little dots is a week, right? The light blue here, right here, is 2024. As you notice, we've gone very slowly up, and we've actually sort of plateaued. Remember, we had a down week, now we have an up week. Right. Now, the year before that, 2023, is this fuchsia colored, and you see how it just evened down and picked back up, and this is pretty much almost what we call seasonality, right? And then, of course, we have the next one, okay, is 2022, which is this one. All right, remember what happened in 2022? This is that interest rate just decides to all go to hell on us, right? Then 2021 is the dark blue down here at the bottom. Now we're going back in time, all right? Because the first year on this particular chart is 2020. Anybody remembers what happened March 2020? All right, we went from what we thought at the time was not a lot of inventory to a huge inventory spike, as every iBuyer out there, that's your Open Door and OfferPad guys, and a whole bunch of other buyers suddenly dumped their contracts. They were not willing to buy in that era of COVID. And apparently every time I say the word COVID on this YouTube channel, YouTube still has the algorithm going to make sure that this, to tamp down this video. So I get very few organic views this way. So please like, share, and subscribe. Anyways, so we get that COVID spike right here, and then the interest rates kick in. People start working from home. People start realizing that if everybody's working from home, their house isn't working out for them, and you see this big, huge run in inventory drops. All right, remember this, all right, and then we have this year right here, 2021, that's the hell year to be a buyer. That is your multiple offers standing in line at 11 o'clock in the morning on a Wednesday, trying to get to look at a house because the interest rates were in the twos, all right, so that's what we got going for 2021. 2022, what happens? Interest rates start going up. And buyers start falling out. Because remember, just because you have these, this is not talking price here. This is just talk how many houses for sale. When the interest rate hits, all right, houses become less affordable. Less people can afford to buy, and inventory spikes up. All right, people figure out, okay, we can start working with this. These new rates comes down to here, and now we're here. Now, I show you that chart to show you this chart. All right, this is just letting you know where we're at right now. We still should be 2,400 houses up here. We're still down here. All right, we still don't have as many houses on the market as we should for the population base and number of houses in general we have. All right, but I want to show you this chart right here. This is your average price per square foot. We all have seen this chart. I've shown this to you about a gazillion times, right? But this one's slightly different, right? The reason why this one is different is because it has two lines on here. The first line, the green line that you see at the top, is price per square foot, right? And as you can see coming up there, here's that big run up that we saw in 2020, 05 to 06. There's that little plateau when everybody knew it was time to get off, and then everybody else realized they had to get out, and there's our crash. That's the big crash that everybody's still talking about. Now remember, we knew that was happening last part of 07. All right. We knew it was coming all of 06. Real estate professionals did. All right. Some people were probably trying to tell you and you weren't listening. Right? And then this happens. And then we get a little dead cat bounce. Right? And they bottom out right about here, and then we start crawling our way out of that. All right? We all know this. All right? This is our lived history. The blue line is what I want to talk to you about today. This blue line here is the same price per square foot, but reflected in $2001. Remember, inflation makes your dollar worth less every time. So if we had no monetary inflation, right, everything stayed straight and narrow, your dollar is worth the same today as it is next week and next year. All right. This is how this whole chart looks. All right. Now you notice it's actually now substantially lower. Now, I probably spent 20 minutes of my life. All right. 20 minutes of my life going through Facebook and the folders that I drop pictures to because I had the perfect meme for this. I know it's out there on my computer somewhere. Damn if I can find it. All right. And what it is, it's the Mary Jane talking to Peter Parker. All right. She's like, tell me, you can tell me the truth. And he's like, no, you don't want to hear the truth. Tell me, please tell me. And then Peter Parker tells her the truth, and then she starts crying. Right. This particular meme was, tell me the truth, I can take it. And Peter responds with, your house isn't worth more, the dollar is worth less. And she starts crying. All right. Now that gets me at a very deep level, and I saved it. I've used it once. I used it to reply to somebody else. All right. Because, hey, why bother typing out a paragraph and a half when I can just send you a picture? All right. Because honestly, some of the people on the internets right now, all they can do is pictures and sock puppets. And I couldn't find it because that's where I would go to right now. So that's what I'm talking about. Because I want you to see this. All right. Because the reason why I'm showing you this is at the very end of this, and it gets sort of cut off, right? But $160 a square foot, right? About 165, 160, maybe about 165, okay? Dollars per square foot, based on $100 a square foot, and that's just how that worked out that year, all right? 2001 houses worth, average was $100 per square foot. Now, right now, we're about 168. Make sense? Okay. Now, up here, move this out of the way so you can see it. You can see that we're currently peaked at about $300 a square foot, which is freaking everybody out, and everybody's losing their minds, right? But if you look at it in 2001 dollars, all right, it's $160 a square foot, right? This difference right here, this is what we call inflation, boys and girls. That's what happened there. Now, inflation, right, kicks off, and we see how it spikes, and of course, in a perfect world, you'd actually there would be a third line here, which would actually be the inflation rate, but that gets really complicated for a lot of people who don't know how to read charts. So, but you can see how that kicked off. All right, that's what's going on now. Remember, okay, going back to this chart right here. Remember this right here? All right, 2020. That's when money started getting dumped into the market. That's our COVID crash and everything like that. Everything starts going really, really funny. Let's go over here, 2020, and that's where this starts shooting up a lot more than this is shooting up. All right, now, that's not saying we're not just spending money like madmen over here, because let's be honest with you. Okay, do you guys remember 2001? Tell me you remember 2001. Okay, tell me you remember September 11th, 2001. Where were you when the world stopped turning? All right. We had a good 2 or so years of not a lot of inflation. 2003 or so. Next thing you know, we need to kick off another land war in Asia. All right. People make the money machine go brr. All right. And then you start seeing inflation really spike. Okay. So we know the Fed tries to keep the inflation rate right at about 2%. All right. They do not want zero out inflation. They don't want zero out inflation because they have this concept, all right, economists, that if your money is not losing value in sitting in the mattress, you're not going to go out and spend it. Okay, and the other day I was thinking about stuff like this, and I realized the problem with economists is they don't get out of the house and actually interact with human beings. All right, every human being in economy land is completely rational. They are completely logical. They have nothing weird going on in their little brains. They're little freaking NPC dots moving around out there with no personality, no desire, or anything like that. All right, and they just sit there and just do logical things. Now over here, where I call reality, all right, people do crazy stuff. All right, people buy stupid things. All right, and I think that's one of our biggest disconnects that we have with when people are starting to project these things out. 2%, but ultimately they want to keep inflation about 2% so people feel encouraged to buy stuff before they think it's going to get more expensive because they're tricking you. All right, because they don't think, and to be honest with you, I've seen you guys vote. I know completely well. All right, you don't understand this. All right. Anyways, so I've always said, and I've got this from smarter people from me, and I've shared it with you on this podcast, all right, that you should always calculate your house increasing in value between 2 and 2.5% every year. If you have to calculate in appreciation at all, put in 2.5%. So, the question of the day is, if we take a $100 house, $100 a square foot house, and we put it in 2% appreciation every year, and then we run it out for 24 years, what's the number we're going to have? Well, I did the calculation for you. After 24 years, you're going to have $160.84 per square foot. This is, all right, what happens at a 2% appreciation rate. After 24 years of that, your initial capital is still $100 a square foot. All right. The simple interest on top of that is $48 a square foot. And you're going to have compound interest. That is interest on the interest. All right. Another $12.80. So you come to $160.84. Where are we at over here? All right. We're at about 165 or so, 168. $8 difference. All right. So I could probably go back there, run that calculator all over again and put, say, 2.5% and see what that pops up. But that might be too much, right? That might be enough to kick us over because 0.5% of 100 is 0.5 times 24. That's another 0.12. Yeah, that puts us over the top. All right. So what does this mean? If you bought a house in 2001, you might be sitting there going, hey, the house I bought for $100 a square foot is now sitting here fat and happy and sassy at $300 a square foot. I've doubled my money, not doubled, tripled my money. Yay, team. But you have to realize that dollar is now worth less. Okay, and we're down here. Congratulations, you went up 68. Right? That's completely cool. Remember the conversation we had a couple months ago where I did all the calculation about those YouTubers who were sitting there, you should just take $1,000 and put it into a, S&P 500 fund. Remember that one? These are the same numbers, guys. These are exactly the same numbers. Let's break down a couple of little things that Cromford reports talk to us about on this, right? Okay, home prices in real terms were below January 2001 levels throughout the period of September 2008 to April 2015. All right, so that was the 7 years you could pick up a bargain. You were literally going to be buying a house for less than it was worth back in 2001. All right, we got out of that really, really quickly. All right. Now, home prices in real terms are similar to those at the late stages of the bubble in the first half of 2006. This is where everybody freaks out. When you listen to people talking about, oh, the crash is coming, that's what you're going to hear from. Hey, we're at the same point last time this happened to us. Maybe it will happen to us again. It's going to happen to us again. All right. That's human nature, right? We're literally engineered to think like that about things. Don't drink that water. It does bad things to you, so you never drink the water out of still ponds. Hey, sometimes that's all you can drink, right? But our two big boom periods were short in duration from 04 to 05 and mid-2020 to mid-2022, right? That's the COVID to interest rates start going back up. Those periods, all right? The one big bust that we had was from 07 to 09. All right, so what do we know about this, right? The two booms are different in nature. All right. We know what caused all of this stuff. I can sit here and point it out to you because we all lived this. Here's your COVID run up. This period right here, this is literally all of society changing how they live. This is literally all of society changing how they live. Getting away from getting in your car, driving to work, all right, sitting in your little cubicle with your little walls and stuff like that and your potted plant, all right. This is where people start working from home, all right? And this here, the big run up because of, our lack of inventory, is because of the inflation rates that were kept artificially low. So you've heard me say this before, right? If you look at the average inflation rate or interest rate for the last 50 years, it's been 7%. Right now, I got people quoting me and reporting to me 6s, 30-year fixed, right? So that's normal. You know what's else normal? This is normal. This is your normal 2% raise. You know what's not normal? This inflation that's going on. That's what's making everything bad happen. So, another thing, just a throwaway line, which I did not want to print that chart out because it gets really super complicated, is the chart that we use. The chart that we use to realize contract to house on the market, number of houses on the market ratio. All right, when you see that one goes scompus, that's when those little signals. I've always said when there's a crash coming, you're going to hear it here first. All right, well before you listen to MSNBC or Jim Cramer or anything else like that, you're going to hear it from me first. All right, here it comes. All right, I hate to tell you this, but this is normal. All right, our run up. All right, our huge pricing that everybody's talking about. Oh my God, the houses cost so much. Adjusted for inflation, that's normal. Interest rates seem incredibly high to you because we got really happy with 2s and 3s and 4s. All right, now we're back in the normal. All right, you know what's not normal? All right, what's not normal is as that interest or as inflation went up, payroll did not keep up with that. All right, that's huge. All right, remember there's the three legs of affordability: home price, interest rate, and household income. All right, household income is the weak sister. All right, that's what's screwing everything up. Household income did not grow as fast, all right, as inflation did. Interest changed, is impacted by inflation. That's why the Fed is not dropping the rate, because they're worried about inflation. All right, there we go. Anyways, I just saw these charts and I thought it was a lot of fun. I like doing these little thought experiments and everything like that. How do we fix that? Well, okay, guys, let's get a drink for this. I've really, really tried not to make this a political channel. Hold on for a second. Who are you sneaking in my office? Oh, Broker Steve just came in here with some leftovers, to put in the fridge. All right. So, anyways, I've really, really, really tried not to make this a political channel. All right. But when politics starts coming into my business, all right, I like to say, going gets weird, weird get going. All right. A major issue for millennials this election season is who's doing what about the price of housing. I have seen two different arguments out there. All right. One argument, all right, I can see in these numbers. One argument reflects my reality that I see in these numbers. The other one is based on fear. All right. The fear of missing out. FOMO, the big lever that they use to get millennials and other people wigging the hell out. Now, politics is really good and it's really powerful when you have a bad guy, right? A certain political party has decided my industry is the bad guy. Why? Because ultimately, they don't want to talk about how their policies make this happen. All right? That this is caused by their policies. Now, I am not going to mention the party because the party isn't one that you think I'm talking about. Right? We've come down to two different parties. Okay? There's the party of the haves and the party of the haves not. This is where my dad gets really happy because he starts thinking I'm becoming a socialist in front of him. Right? The people who are currently in the haves are very, very happy with the status quo. Right? They do not want things to happen like zoning to change. They don't want to see more houses built in their neighborhoods. They don't want to see, more traffic congestion in their neighborhoods. And they sure hell don't want to see those people living in their neighborhoods going to school with their daughters. Right. So they do everything they can to make sure new houses, affordable houses, get built in their area. They make sure that does not happen. Right. Instead, what they do is they win an election, go to the Department of Justice and say, you know what? There's a certain industry out there that's made up majority of women. All right, we're talking like 68, 70% of everybody in that industry are women. It is one of the few jobs, a person with a high school education and nothing else can go and suddenly start making millions of dollars every year. Right? It's a job that a woman can do on the side and take care of the kids at the same time. And they're evil and we need to destroy them. Right? This is not me saying this, right? This is like literally 3 different female real estate agent channels have all said this, and they're all a little fired up. Got to be honest with you, it's sort of hot, Female real estate agents, when they get like all fiery and what like that, I'll be in my bunk. All right. But they honestly think that the reason why housing costs so much is because of real estate agents. All right. Is strictly because the party of the haves have decided they're going to do everything they possibly can, right, to deflect the fact that housing costs so much, and because inflation costs so much, they've drove the interest rates up so much, and depressed workers' wages because they're importing more potential workers. All right, so I'm repeating to you what I'm seeing the conversations on the real estate boards that you're not aware of because you're not allowed to be there. Some of them you literally have to type in your freaking real estate license number before you can sit in. And a lot of people are fired up about this. All right. They have realized that for whatever reason, one of the parties out there, the party of the haves, has decided they are going to deflect blame from their own policies onto, right, realtors. So, I guarantee you, there's nothing, and even the National Association of Realtors, as incompetent as they are, had anything to do with inflation going up that high. We did not encourage deficit spending. Now, to be honest with you, they sure as hell did encourage that freaking tax write-off for interest on your mortgage. All right, something that longtime viewers of the channel realize I've been railing against since like the early teens of my podcasts. All right, I've never met a buyer yet who has ever bought a house for the tax write-off on their, on their interest rate. Sorry, all right, but NAR was really big on making sure that that was always came out. That could add a little bit to the debt. All right, we're actually paying more on the interest on our debt than we are in the Department of Defense. Let's break that down for you, all right? If you're in a position where you're paying more on your credit card interest, not paying against the principal, but the interest, than you are on the family car, you have a spending problem. Pretty much every household in America knows this, right? Except for the people that we elect. It's funny, I did not mean for this conversation to go in this direction, right? But here we are, all right? We might actually get worse as days go on. We got 4 more months of this, and then we got the riots afterwards to deal with. Okay, and at this point, I'm pretty sure side both, it's equal opportunity who's going to kick that one off, right? But ultimately, the new documents come in place, all right? We are working out the fact that, okay, Mr. and Mrs. Buyer who wanted to buy their first-time house, the seller the haves do not want to pay out of their $300 a square foot that they've made on their house that they bought in 2001. Okay. The house that they're selling for this, that they bought down here, maybe in 2009, all right, they don't want to pay the traditional costs or anything like that, the way the life has been set up, okay, since way before this chart, Okay, it's literally been this way since the 70s, 60s, 70s, right? All right, they decided they didn't want to do that anymore. So you and Mr. and Mrs. Don't Have now need to cough up any amount of money, okay, to go out there and find a real estate agent who may be able to work for you at that rate, okay, to help protect you when you buy that house that the seller has bought, okay, and make sure you're adequately represented, all right, and adequately informed, and have the best chance of getting a decent interest rate because you went to somebody who actually knows how to price out interest rates and not necessarily just go to your credit union. And somebody who knows how to read a home inspection and how to argue an appraisal, right? And how to watch children and pets around water and not drive in anything flooded, right? Somebody who knows that he needs to work his circles, right? Tries to work them hard every day, and has gotten to the point where when something starts distracting him, like a podcast or a politician, he thinks to himself, what circle is this in? No, I'm not listening to that podcast. I'm going to do what I can to have the best weekend possible. And I hope you guys do too. Talk to you later.